We're back. The Anonymous Podcast, episode number 7, Reality After Show. I'm Lauren. With me, as always, Adrian. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Another good episode. Episode 7. We're in the thick of it right now. We're in the middle of the gameplay. We've seen like the early game. We're like right in the middle of the mid game, and we're gonna start hitting towards that game soon. So I'm really excited to see what these people pull out of their hats.
Yeah.
Okay, pull it out of a hat.
Yeah, we can pull out a hat. That's fun. You can pull out a lot of places, but
anywhere you want, really.
Exactly. I will say, yeah, we're in the thick of it, but there's still, for me, too many damn people. Because I'm counting the numbers and I go, we still have this many left. And it's just because we had the extra people come in. And so then it just starts all over again, I felt as. So it makes it a little hard, knowing that you feel as though already on episode 7, you should be down to way less people and you're just not.
Yeah, no. So we're down to 9 right now. Well, 10 at the beginning of the episode. And it seems like we might not even get an elimination this week. That's a whole nother can of worms. Like I'm curious to know how long USA Network is planning on, or how many episodes the season is going to be. Are we looking at a typical 12 to 13 episode arc? I mean, the Traders is only 10 episodes long, typically, if I memory serves correctly. Survivor runs in and around the 13 mark. Same thing with like Amazing Race, etc. So like we're halfway through the season and we have 9 players left. And it depends on what that end game looks like. Because if we're looking at a 10 episode season and there are going to be 5 people in the finale and they're just going to blow all through them, we're only looking at 4 more eliminations. I guess that makes sense ish.
Yeah, a little bit. It does. But my other thing that you have to look at is a lot of the times finales sometimes have longer episodes. I don't necessarily believe that they will do a longer episode for this type of finale for this show, but I could be wrong. I'm just not sure. They haven't explicitly said what it is going to be. And also to think about too here, we don't know how many people they're going to have in the end game either. We don't even know what the end game is going to look like. That's why it makes it so interesting being a season 1, because you just don't know the full format of the game.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't know if they're going to be voting like it's going to be like Big Brother or Survivor or anything like that. We don't know if they're just going to take a test. And then whoever the most anonymous person is at the end, which if they do that, they can't have like 3 people in the finale. They can't have 4 people in the finale because it's inevitably going to end in a tie.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to like there's so many different ways that it can play out from a gameplay perspective. And we have no insight as to what that's going to be. So it just puts us in a precarious position as to how to predict how the rest of the season is going to go, since we don't know that gameplay.
Other thing we have to look at too is there going to be a double elimination round?
Yeah,
we haven't seen something such as that yet. I think that could be a possibility, but again, with this type of show in the format that it is, it would have to be a boom, 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 Big Brother type of style if they're going to do a double at some point.
Yeah, they would have to do 2 consecutive vote outs, or like where there's a separate test and a new anonymous is declared and then the next person is eliminated. Or the way they could do it is that they could have the top 2 people who are the most anonymous win, and then they could each individually make a decision as to who they want, and you can have a double elimination that way. But that does put a little bit of a wrinkle in the show's format a little bit, because what happens if they choose the same people, etc. I mean, we're running into that right now because of the way that this the face-off, which is what they call it, I wrote it down. The face-off occurred this time where 3 out of 7 people are going to be safe. So if that person is eliminated and we find out that they're safe, there's no elimination, which is like flabbergasting to me. It's just like, I don't understand how we're going to work for the rest of the format of the season. But that's the format of the season. We need to get into the gameplay. We need to talk about 9 epic warriors battling it out in anonymous mode. Tell me, what'd you think about the episode?
For me, this episode alone, not my favorite. It wasn't bad by any means. It just kind of dragged for me. I think we could have gotten through some parts a bit quicker. But again, I love the anonymous mode. It's so good just seeing the spice, what they have to say, going after each other, trying to hide their identity. That has always hit for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, this season we did get a lot of challenge. We got like 15 minutes of the face-off. Which the challenge usually isn't my huge cup of tea. I mean, sometimes they're very exciting. etc. But that's usually not why I'm watching the show. I'm watching the show for the conversations, relationship building, and the strategy. This episode, we ended up with a lot of stuff in the face-off mode, which I don't mind the face-off mode because it still is a social strategic game that's playing out. It's like a microcosm of the actual game we were playing itself. But to spend that much time, a third of the episode on it, it just feels a little bit.
Right, I agree with you. I just thought it's been too much. I get there was a twist this time with it, and that's completely fine. But give me something else. There's got to be another game that they can play that has deception in it, and having the ability to read other people and read the room, such as Dylan would say. I'm very good at reading the room normally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that they could do variations on this. I think they could expand it a little bit more. I'm glad that they're doing a little bit of new stuff with it, but I don't think that they're changing it up enough. It's just from a viewer's perspective, seeing the same game over and over and over and over again. It's going to become tiresome after a while. Obviously, this season's already in the can, but maybe something for next season that they can look into. But yeah, no, I say let's jump right into it. Do you have anything else to say before we get started?
Let's roll.
Cool. Let's rock. So we got Xavier and Dylan are up for elimination from the cliffhanger from last episode. The voters revealed Xavier is sent home. Okay. So Xavier bows out. He goes with dignity. I would say he took it well. I think he knew it was coming at the time. And he basically says to the person that took me out, you better win.
Foreshadowing?
Exactly. This goes exactly along with what you and I have been saying mostly, is that Lily is a dark horse to win this season. And Xavier just called out Lily. Spoiler, Lily was the anonymous. That whoever took him out, which was Lily, they need to win the game. So I feel vindicated here right now.
I do too. We have been saying for weeks now that Lily has started to progress her game, has done an excellent job hiding the identity, building relationships. I think that's what you see it all the time. The slow burn people, and then when they get the grasp of the game, are very good at what they do. I think she has a good shot. And with Xavier saying that, makes me feel that she has an even better shot. If she wins this game, there it is, folks. There's your foreshadowing right in this episode.
Yeah, no. Right now, she is numero uno on the who is going to win this game list for me. Lily's game, her trajectory, her storyline throughout the entire season has been on an upward trajectory right from the start. It seems like nobody is really targeting her, and nobody really knows that she's the one pulling the strings right now. Everybody's pointing fingers at everybody else. The only person that seems like they're at odds with Lily is Nina. Unbeknownst to Nina, that Lily is the one that's throwing her under the bus, which we'll get into that. But yeah, no, I think Lily's game is extremely strong. There's a couple of other players that I have my eye on. You know, I do think Nina is doing very well. I think Victoria is doing very well. Mm-hmm. But Lily is by far the top dog right now in my mind.
You forgot one.
Who did I forget?
Andy. Andy's running the game, remember?
Oh, yeah. Andy is running the game right now. He definitely is, according to oh God, who's that conversation with? It might have been like Marcel, if I remember correctly. But I don't know. I have notes about it. This is why I take notes, because I don't remember everything from the show immediately off the top of my head. But yes, no, Andy's doing awesome right now. I'm so happy for Andy, because we're gonna have him for another episode, and that makes me happy.
Right on.
So Lily is the anonymous. It's revealed through the show. Lily assesses that Jack and Xavier are joined at the hip. One of them has to go. Xavier was the only one that was up for elimination this week. It's been weird watching it and watching the relationship between Xavier and Jack blossom into where they're almost at odds with each other. They're the two top dogs butting heads. And Lily still has the assessment that they're working together, which is funny to me, because it's like Lily did so well, but she's also not reading the situation correctly. And the show does a good job, I think, of pointing that out. Like, I don't know if the show's trying to tell me that Lily's playing a great game or that Lily is not playing a great game.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing too. You just don't know what story they're trying to deliver all the time. What I will say, when we did have Lily on the podcast with us, Lily did speak. If there had been different options up for the elimination, she may have chosen differently.
Yes. I remember specifically we were talking to her and she said that she would have taken out Christopher. Spoiler, that podcast is airing.
It already aired.
Yeah, last night. Yeah.
Yep, it aired last night. So that's why I was like, I'm just going to drop it here. Check out Lily's podcast interview. Really, really good content.
Absolutely. And we have interviews with almost all of the players that are on the show as the show is airing, which is awesome to be able to experience that and to be able to talk to them as the show is airing rather than just doing exit interviews. It's a unique experience to be able to get their insights at that point in the game rather than waiting until they're out of the game before you can get any insight as to what was occurring in their heads. So awesome. Kudos. Plug. Like and subscribe. Johnny Fairplay will be really upset if we don't say that. Anyway, Xavier reveals that he was Scissors. Not a whole lot of reactions to Scissors, but a lot of reactions to Fish.
Yes.
Which played out because Xavier had won the Anonymous as he was Fish. So it definitely stands to reason a lot of people were getting that incorrectly. So there was a little bit of a shock and awe there. Xavier, I think he played a solid game. I think that his threat level was just way too high. I don't know if he really had a snowball's chance in hell of winning this game coming into it, and everyone knowing that he is the big brother winner that he is. Right.
I just think, as you just said, he was coming in this game to play hard, and he did just that. But the odds I had on the table, 5%, 10% chance of winning. It's just so hard to win a show and then go to a different one where there's people that know who you are and you revealed who you were too, just to let you slide to then win again. It's just not going to happen. It's rare. We've seen it a couple times. Sandra, for instance, it does happen, but it's rare.
Absolutely. I think that he played I'm not going to say as good of a game as he could have, but I think given his circumstances, I think he had a solid showing. So Xavier goes into, after he's voted out, he's talking in the confessional, and he actually thinks that the Anonymous is either Jack, Nina, or Andy.
Andy of all people. I love it. Of all people.
Well, then he saw them as a trio. That Jack, Nina, and Andy were conspiring against his, I believe Xavier was saying that it was himself, Christopher, Victoria, like that coalition. So he was seeing them as at odds. Ooh, I can't say that. He was at odds with his coalition. So he's pegging that one of them is the Anonymous. Not thinking about the lone wolves that are out there, namely people like Lily, Beastma, Marcel, etc. A lot of people are not giving them a lot of credit, and they're going to coast until the end. And it's not even to be coasting because everybody else is going to, it's like standing in the middle and being, as to use the words of this show, they're being Switzerland right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you have the two powers fighting each other, and then Switzerland's going to run and take over the country at the end. And I think that's the story that we're seeing playing out.
We are. I just think it's so hard though, because each episode round by round has changed, because you see some people around, they get no votes, and then they get, 2 or 3 the next go around, and then the other people that had a bunch of votes don't get anything. It's just very strange how the game has progressed.
Yeah, well, to see people do that, it's because they're trying to not telegraph their moves. And that's what's so unique about this game as opposed to so many others, is that everyone is trying to keep people off their scent as to who they are, what their handle is. So people are not even nominating people within their best interests just for the mere fact that they don't want to get caught in their handle. So that way that they can have the power to eliminate who they want, which is what makes it an interesting game. That's my thought. So that night, Christopher and Nina are absolutely flabbergasted. That's going to be the word of the day, flabbergasted. But Nina seems like she's fine with it. She's very lackadaisical to the whole Xavier leaving thing. It doesn't really impact her game. She thinks that it's just better with without Xavier in the game. He was a big threat. It was going to be harder to get him out earlier. So, I mean, that's one way to take it. Your thoughts?
You have to take it some way, right? He's gone at this point. I just think Nina has a good head on her shoulders. She's very aware. She tries to not give away too much information, but gives enough where people do feel trustworthy with her.
Yes, I agree. But just like you were saying, everybody's got to take it some way. We get not the exact, but we get an opposite take from Jack. Jack is kind of disappointed that Xavier is gone right now because Xavier was a shield for him. He was a strategic shield. So now Jack feels a little bit more exposed and a little bit more out there as far as a target, which we'll see play out over the next thing. I mean, I don't know. With Xavier gone, I don't know how long Jack has left before, those crosshairs are going to lay up on him.
I think Jack needed Xavier in the game 2 more rounds, because we see how games typically pivot. When you get to the final 7, the final 6, that's where it really changes. Final 7 is crazy with eliminations in any type of format of a game that we typically see. But when you get to that number of 5, almost too little, too late. So I think he just needed a couple more rounds there with Xavier staying in the game.
Yeah, no, 7 and 8 is usually the biggest moves time, because that's where you're setting up your final 4. So you're going to have tons of different power structures vying for power at that point, because whoever gets power at the 7th or 8th round is typically who retains it for the end of the game. Typically, there are exceptions to that. There are things such as immunities that are won, that for wrenches it doesn't work, etc. But generally speaking, once you have that final 4 locked in, those 4 people who vote in the 8 and the 4 round, the 8 and the 7 round, they're going to stick together for the end, because they're voting within their best interest to be able to make it to the end game. So we get a conversation between Jack, Marcel, and Bisma. Jack says he's doing something right because nobody's gotten an at-risk vote yet, because he hasn't been put up yet. But he's playing like, oh my God, but I'm sucking in the hideout. That's definitely not true.
It's not true at all. Jack was awesome at the beginning of the game. But what we've seen recently is Jack's not getting all the ding-dings of the anonymous. Other people are, and other people are doing much better in their second go-around of the handle. Jack killed it at the beginning, but now we're seeing other people have caught on and are understanding the game more.
Yeah, and I'm not even seeing that Jack is staying or that he's becoming vulnerable in the anonymous room. We're not getting people pegging him as Flamingo, but we're just, I guess other people are just doing it better than him. So he might be doing, just fine, but he's not doing the best now.
Right.
Which, spoiler, we find out that that's been Lily. Anyway, so there's a Vistifer, patent pending.
You have to name it. You have to name it at this point, right?
Yes. So the Vistifer snuggle session occurs. It's obligatory in every episode, with a little bit of cuddling, maybe a little smoochy here and there. They're really laying it on thick, because apparently that's what sells. A confessional from Christopher comes in, though, that he says basically, this is a great relationship, etc., but I'm here to play to win, which is great that we've heard that from Christopher, because we've heard that from Victoria, but we haven't, Christopher has seemed to be very lackadaisical towards the game and more interested in Victoria at that point. But this is one of the first times, I mean, it may have happened once or twice before, but this was a solid confessional from Christopher saying, I am here to play to win.
It's a solid confessional if you weren't as obvious in the anonymous room. So that's but it's hard for me because we love Christopher. Christopher is amazing. And I know Christopher is definitely there for the money. However, you've made it so obvious to other people who you are. And Victoria has not. And that's why Victoria has the 100% leg up for me in that relationship.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. But to me, it was nice to be able to hear from Christopher that he's more interested in the money than he is in Victoria. All things being said, I mean, you're there for that purpose. It's not The Bachelor, If you were looking for a dating game, go play Love is Blind, But yeah, no, it was great to be able to hear him say something savvy like that into a game. So next morning, Danny comes on. There's going to be no challenge today. And we've seen this before. That generally means that there is going to be a challenge after anonymous mode and after the votes are cast. So not too surprising there. Jack and Nina are talking, and Jack and I have empathy for Jack here because I kind of feel the same way. Jack is talking about there's a gender war brewing, and he's like, I don't want that to be a thing. Like, Jack is definitely feeling more vulnerable right now. His it seems his game is derailing a little bit now that Xavier is gone, and he feels a little bit more exposed from everything. So, I mean, I'm not even sure how the heck to take that at that point, because he's not at the top of the power structure anymore. So he's lost all of that power, and now he's actually feeling the vulnerability that everybody else has in the game. And now we're seeing how Jack adapts to that.
Here's the problem. You run into the girls versus the guys, and no one went into that game wanting it to be that. And I also think when you had those first rounds of the anonymous, when the eliminations were happening, people were not thinking about, oh, I'm eliminating this person because they are a girl. They weren't thinking that way. However, though, if you were someone in the game, you were going to perceive that as what they could be thinking, and that they may be working all together potentially. And so then you're saying to yourself, I need to corral my numbers and make sure that we all stick with each other so another girl doesn't get eliminated from the game. And that's what makes it so hard, because you have to look and see everything that's going on in the bigger picture.
Yeah, I actually, I'm gonna have to go ahead of my notes because I wrote some information about this. So, in my opinion, and this is my opinion, here's the innate problem with gender-based alliances, or anything based on exterior facets of the game, like things that are beyond the game when you create your alliance. They are the hardest to break typically. And they create tricky gameplay because the factors or the strategies that people will or could naturally employ to counter an all women's alliance and all this alliance and all that alliance is generally to be the opposite of that, which could have social ramifications outside of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So in this instance, if you are forming an all-female alliance, the natural counter to that is an all-male alliance. And if you say that, and that gets aired on TV, like, I need to make an all-male alliance, that is going to have exterior factors outside of the game on that person. They're going to get, and that's basically because of the fan base and the way social media is now, is that they're going to get labeled as a chauvinist, they're going to get labeled as anti-female, etc. And that could have a significant impact on that person based on a game decision that was not even theirs in the beginning. You know, if let's say somebody, Steven, we'll make up a name. Steven was against an all-female alliance, and Steven said, okay, well, if they're an all-female alliance, I need to get all my dudes. So all the bros come in and they make their dude alliance. And it's something that they didn't want to do in the beginning. They didn't want to work together. But if they don't, then they're out of the game. Like, so Steven makes this mystery man alliance, and then they actually win the fight. You know, they end up eliminating the women from the all-female alliance. Their lives are going to be ruined after that game. Like, that's my innate problem. There are technically 4 ways that you can counter an alliance that's based upon exterior factors or commonalities. We'll just call them commonalities. Well, there's 3 methods. The first one has 2 steps. You find the weakest relationship in that alliance, and you sow discourse amongst the group by lying to the group about their members and to force them to consume themselves. We've seen that happen before.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of that is build a stronger bond with a member of the group than what the commonality means to them. So in other words, you need to have a stronger relationship than that person identifies as, in this case, a female. And that's going to paint you as a villain, because you're pulling someone away from girl power. You could choose to counter that alliance, which we discussed, where you create a different commonality to bond you with other people. And then the other way is to just muscle it, where you just muscle it to the end by immunitying your way to the end, or whatever the mechanics of the game are, but you remain invulnerable to the fact where you can't be eliminated from the game. And no matter which method that you employ here, it opens your way up to being criticized or held accountable for, or having to answer for sabotaging something that has a very positive impact on society as a whole. Like, a women's alliance looks great. It's phenomenal. It's great. Girl power. I'm all for that. But it creates the men who are against it into a precarious position where they have to talk about sacrificing their reputations in real life in order to dismantle it.
And that's why it makes it so complicated, because you alone are playing as an individual. You are there for yourself singularly, and you're playing for $100,000 basically. Mm-hmm. And that's why you have to go into the conversations, read the room, talk to people. But what do you want these people to do? Just quit playing the game because there's a group forming? No, I don't want to see that. But I also, like you said, going for the girls, obviously. But they made that alliance because of what factored in to the rounds prior to that. And it wasn't the fault of the own of the people doing it because Jack won so many of the anonymous rounds. It was not factoring in his mind, I'm eliminating this person because they are a girl. That's not what Jack was doing. Jack was getting rid of the people that he thought were not good for Jack's game. And that's what you see universally playing out here. But what I am enjoying about the anonymous mode is you do see them going against each other because they're trying to hide their identity and pit it on other people. And that is why I'm enjoying the game design of this, because you have to have those soul conversations outside of the anonymous chat with those people saying, I'm 100% with you. I have not put a girl up for elimination, which in actuality, they all have now, right? I believe so. They all have put one of each other up. Maybe one of them has not. I don't know. That's the only one. Only one has not. But my point being is it's happened from many of them, not just one of them. And that is what makes this game so complicated, because you're playing yourself and somebody else.
Yeah, no, it's an extremely complicated game, and bringing in factors such as gender into it, I think, complicates it even further. And Jack is trying to avoid that here. So, end diatribe. Okay.
Yes, but I will also say, though, I believe Nina did agree with Jack, saying she didn't really want that to be a thing necessarily either. It's just the way the game happened to become. Now, I will say, I think future episodes, that absolutely could change, because it depends on the eliminations, what ends up happening, because you see people have bonds. Lily has a bond with Marcel. You can see that. And Nina was part of that conversation. So there's people within that group that have their other people outside of the group that they click with. And then you have the Christopher and Victoria alliance. So there's just so many inner things that come into play here.
Yeah, no, I think the one person that's really championing it right now is Bisma. She is 100% like, I want this to girl power. And that's part of a factor of her coming in late to the game. So she wasn't able to build relationships like some of these other players were, and which forces her to look for an exterior commonality with other players in order to create an alliance based on exclusionary tactics.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And that's hard. But Victoria's adapted better, in my opinion, over Bisma.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, so getting back into it. So Nina wants to let Jack draw blood while she lays back and reaps the rewards. There's a more than fine strategy employed by Nina. I think that's the right thing to do. Next up, that we get a conversation between Christopher and Marcel. Marcel thinks that Jack is the anonymous. Christopher absolutely agrees. They are conspiring to get Jack away from being the anonymous, but Jack has already lost that power to Lily. So they're like one step behind. They're like just figuring out that Jack is playing a really good game about a round or two too late.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because I think when I see Christopher go into a conversation with somebody, if they say something first, Christopher's like, "Oh yeah, 100%. No, I'm right on board with that. Absolutely." That's why he's so good. He's
Yeah.
great.
He's an extremely likable guy. He's got, as the kids say, the Riz.
He does have the Riz,
He
has the
has the
charm,
Riz. Yeah.
likability. I still
Mhm.
think he's funny, even though Dylan had a little bit of dig at Christopher for that. I still think he's funny.
But that's what's so great about this game is that everybody has so many great personalities. It's wonderful. Um, so next up, we get a conversation between Christopher, Marcel, Nina, and Victoria. So Christopher and Marcel are like trying to play like Hercule Poirot here. They're like trying to be like a little Sherlock Holmesy and trying to figure out what everybody else is thinking before they actually say what they're thinking. Christopher, who's pulling the strings? Victoria immediately throws Andy under the bus. Oh, I think Andy is smarter than he seems. And Marcel just agrees. Like, yeah, Andy is playing dumb. Everybody agrees with that. Everybody's saying like Andy's a lot smarter than he's appearing. And even when we talked to Andy, we didn't get that as a huge part of his strategy. I think that he's just a pure soul. I don't even know if he's trying to do that.
I think he's just a pure soul and a social butterfly, as Andy would say. And that's one strategy. You could be super social, very likable with everyone, and that may get you to the end of the game. Andy very well still could get to the end of this game.
Yeah, no, I think Andy's playing Lightning a heck of a lot better than he played Butterfly. But I don't see him as this mastermind that's like, I don't know what's going on. But in the fact that he knows everything that's going on, I think Andy is, I think he's playing a better game in the anonymous mode, but I don't think that he has more insight than he did previously.
No, not at all. But I think, as you said, he's playing the handle much better than he was at the beginning. He did not adapt that well in regards to how the game necessarily was going to work in the anonymous mode, because in Andy's mind, Andy's like, no one's going to suspect me as Butterfly.
Yeah, and it was immediately pegged within like the first 5 seconds. I think it was the first message that he sent. It was just like, people were like, that's Andy.
Butterfly is Andy.
So Marcel is then like, we think Jack is the puppeteer. And they're like who do you think it is? And then Marcel mimes to say that he thinks that lipstick is Jack's handle. That's you were almost there. You were almost there with trying to have good gameplay and trying to throw Jack under the bus, but then you went too far, and now you're throwing a handle that pretty much everybody knows that lipstick is Christopher. And like so you were doing great, and then you didn't stick the landing, Marcel.
Pick a different handle.
You just could have picked anyone.
Why that handle? I don't understand.
Fire, robot, lightning.
There's options. I would not have picked. Eagle would have been a no-go for me. And lipstick, absolutely. Hell to the no. What he did. Just another one. Something that's in the middle where everyone's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and like the show is really painting Marcel as a step behind and not as savvy as the other players in the household, which is why I don't think Marcel really has a chance to win this game at this point. It's just unfortunate. I like Marcel. Yeah, I think he's a great guy. I'm sure his content on YouTube is wonderful, but it's just in this game he just doesn't have the chops. Like it's sad.
Yeah, I'm going to bring in, so we have a comment, someone was saying, I think that we'll lose most of the strategic players in the middle of this game, and that's something that we have been talking about. I think we will lose a ton of them, but that's also, we're seeing people rise to the strategic power that they are getting now. So there are people that weren't as strategic at the beginning of the game, but they have done in recent episodes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we started to see the shift. With the departure of Xavier and even Robbie for that matter, because she was pegged more as a strategic player. But yeah, no, I think that we're going to see a lot of the stronger players from the early game get eliminated. So we're probably looking at people like Jack. We're looking at people like Nina, I would imagine.
I think so. I don't think Nina gets to the end either.
Yeah, no, I didn't. As like the strongest players in the beginning of the game, I think are going to have their comeuppance because they can't maintain power without anonymity, which is super cool.
How do you think Dylan ends up in this game? Where does Dylan land for you?
I think Dylan gets pegged as a social threat. I don't think that he's an immediate danger, but I think that you're probably looking at Final 5, Final 6.
Just getting the boot right before like the complete end game.
Yeah. I think Dylan is just. I think he's just going to get pegged as a really likable person. It's like that's threatening, even though they don't know what the end game is. But yeah, no, I love Dylan. Want to see him on my screen all the time. But I just don't think that he's going to be able to. Like in order to get to the end of most of these games, you need to be able to fly under the radar just a little bit. And I don't think Dylan, bless his soul, has the ability to fly under any radar.
And that's fine because Dylan remains Dylan. Could you imagine a quiet Dylan? It just wouldn't stick. It wouldn't
No,
it wouldn't feel
no.
right.
I'd be like, what'd you do with Dylan? What did you do with him? Is it like that's like one of those like pod people from like, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And you're just like, he would have no personality whatsoever. You'd be like, what'd you do to that guy? Where is it? I need that lovable, cuddleable man right there. Anyway, so Nina is trying to portray herself as a more confused person and then act like she's taking the lambs to slaughter. I like her gameplay. I just think that it's going to have a comeuppance because I think people realize that Nina is savvy.
That's the thing. We talked about it with Jack. We knew Jack's time was coming where Jack was going to become on people's radars. Mm-hmm. Nina, same thing. I will say, though, I think Jack goes before Nina in this game, personally. But the way I believe Nina can get to the end is if Jack stays longer in the game.
Yeah. Well, I think Xavier's elimination bumps the shield for Jack, but Jack is the shield for Nina right now. So, like you were saying, Xavier needs to stay in the game for another 2 rounds before Jack gets rid of him. I think likewise for Nina, because I think that trickles down. I think that we're going to see a lot of the more sheepish players make it to the end. I think that's just almost by game design because you can't use an alliance to muscle the game to the end. Anyway, so we get thrown into the anonymous mode. We get that Jack thinks that Andy is Popsicle. Unfortunately, he is not. But yeah, no, Jack has a bad read at the beginning of the anonymous mode. That was one of the notes that I had. But then we dive right into it. And Popsicle Dylan starting off the chat again. Jack, you'll be going up for elimination. Just gavel right there. Bold move from Dylan. Again.
Do you expect anything less? And that's the thing. Some people, I believe, have such a hard time not just slamming it down. Mm-hmm. I think you can play the game that way, but eventually people are going to say, all right, that would be a Dylan thing because Dylan is so outspoken, not afraid to hide. But what has happened as of late, too, is a lot of people are doing it. They're just smacking it right on the table. No questions asked. Don't care who.
That imagery.
What'd you say?
I said that imagery is rough. Just smacking it on the table.
Listen, that's the direction we went in. We're going in some direction. We always
You're in that direction. There it is.
This is what we do when we podcast. We have fun, folks.
It's the after show.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, keep going.
No, carry on. I gave you a great thing to vision, and we're just going to keep sliding along.
There it is. So Flamenco Jack chimes in. The couple needs to get broken up. So he's trying to get the name off of Jack, mm-hmm. Which probably is what indicated or sent up a red flag that maybe Flamenco is Jack. Because I guess Jack is not playing as well as he was before because now his name is getting thrown out. And he's like, I'll be doing Christopher. And then Eagle Beastma chimes in Christopher is sweating bullets because he'll be next after Xavier. And we see some reactions from everybody, like, oh, there it is, because a lot of people know that they're being actively targeted. Then Robot Lily comes in, Christopher, Jack, and Nina. Brings up Nina out of nowhere. It makes sense for Lily's strategy so far because Robot has voted for Nina pretty much, I think, every time since that Lily has been Robot, if I'm not mistaken.
With the new handle, yes.
Yeah. Beastma thinks that Robot might be Christopher. So a bad read from Beastma. Fire Lily chimes in. Is no one going to mention Lily? So Nina is striking back, which is really funny because she doesn't suspect that Lily is Robot, yet she is accidentally targeting the person that has been targeting her. So it's like we have this war between two people that don't know that they're actually fighting the person they're supposed to be.
And they're supposed to be in an alliance.
Yes! They're supposed to be in an alliance. So it's really funny how that's kind of working out. Lightning Andy then chimes in, let's not forget about Dylan. And then more reactions from Dylan, obviously, because Dylan is going to react anytime somebody puts his name out there. Then Flamingo Jack chimes in, anyone want to put up Marcel and Victoria? So, like, pretty much everybody's name has been mentioned at this point, except for Snake. And lo and behold, Marcel has to chime in with his hiss.
I just think Marcel just wants to say something, and Marcel didn't need to say anything. Sometimes you can be quiet. You can pull a Wayne.
Like, yeah, no, like, oh, that was so cringe. Oh, that was just painful to see, like, just like that. That was a terrible text.
When Wayne was light bulb, Wayne said nothing the first go around. Marcel just had to sit there and let it happen.
Do nothing. Nothing is better than just saying hiss. Then Fire Nina comes in with spit it out. So Beastma still thinks that Marcel is Snake. Spoiler, a lot of people think that Marcel is Snake. Cactus Victoria says, girls don't like Marcel. Wonder why. Victoria's game is looking phenomenal right now. Mm-hmm. Like she's my second pick to win right now, apart from Lily.
Victoria's fun to watch. I really enjoyed it, just simply because we thought Victoria was going to come in and play a certain way, and it's been the furthest from the truth. Victoria is killing it. Very fun to watch. She knows the game well, too. Caught on so quickly. It's got to be very difficult coming into the game late, and she's adapted so well. If you're picking people that you thought could come into the game and be part of the group, form relationships with other people, she was the correct person to have come in late to the game if that is the twist that you're doing.
Yeah. No, she's been phenomenal to see her quick adaptation to the game as at large. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Beastma. So Beastma is starting to recognize that the women are starting to gain threat level, especially after eliminating a power player like Xavier. Mm-hmm. So Eagle Beastma comes in with anyone the girls want to go home goes home. Sorry, Marcel. So Beastma really has it in for Marcel. But the person who had the power, who was Lily last week, chimes in with, I love Marcel. Indicating to me that Lily is not going to do anything to jeopardize Marcel's game.
Right. No, and you see outside of the Anonymous that they seem to have a really good relationship and rapport with each other, which I'm enjoying seeing because we didn't get that storyline quite yet. And we saw it more this episode. You saw the side talk between them, and you can just see that they're very close with each other.
Yeah, no, and like I don't know if it's a marriage of convenience or because they're both been lone wolves and they both had a antisocial rocky start to the game, but it's good that they're linking up. I think because that's a commonality. They both had rocky starts to the game. Beastma is just really locked in on the all girl alliance thing. And this is where in my notes I just dived into the whole girls alliance thing. But we'll skip over that.
We already addressed that.
Covered it. It's done. Stamp it. Anyway, so we get to the vote. And I'll just run through the votes here. So Flamingo Jack puts up Christopher. Robot Lily puts up Nina again. Popsicle Dylan puts up Jack. Eagle Beastma puts up Marcel. Lipstick Christopher puts up Lily. Lightning Andy puts up Dylan. Snake Marcel puts up Dylan. I wasn't expecting as many votes for Dylan. Fire Nina puts up Lily, and Cactus Victoria puts up Beastma, which that was shocking. I wasn't anticipating that.
So Beastma, only loyal person to the Alliance. Everyone else out the window. But you have to do that to hide your handle. Because if that is the agreement that they have with each other, not to vote them, they're all thinking the same thing except one of them.
Yeah. So Victoria is certain that Eagle is Beastma correctly.
Yes.
Once again, validating Victoria's game and her insight. Jack reasons it might be better for his game to be put at risk than to be off the block again, which I agree with. Because if you're off the block for an extended period of time, it's going to paint a target on you. So I agree with that statement. I think it's better that he's up for elimination this week.
You have to go up. If you don't, then you're eventually going to go up and keep going up and up and up. Because we saw at the beginning, Nina wasn't on the docket for a little bit in time and then finally popped up and has kept popping up from there.
Yeah, no. It's interesting how your threat level goes up the less you're shown on the block. The less you're targeted, the more threatening you are.
And Andy targeted completely on the original handles and now has just been chilling.
Yeah, no, Andy is cruising. He's found his butter zone and he's going to stay there until, he gets spread on toast, I guess. I don't know. But so Nina feels that Lily is her biggest threat currently, which is hilarious because it's actually more true than she knows. Because Lily's the one that's been putting her up. So in summation, we have at risk. We had 2 votes for Dylan, 2 votes for Lily, 1 vote for Christopher, 1 vote for Jack, 1 vote for Beastma, 1 vote for Lily, 1 vote for Marcel. So we had 7 of the 9 people up for elimination.
That was a mouthful right there. Yeah, and then you see Victoria not up at all, which is shocking to me because they talk about the couple. And I will say I am enjoying this a little bit because normally when you see couples and targets, it is always the girl typically that is targeted over the guy. And so it's just a plot twist here that I'm very interested in seeing how it unfolds.
Well, yeah, there's the All Women's Alliance, and which is shielding Victoria to an extent as well. But it wasn't even a female that put Christopher up for elimination. It was Jack.
Yes.
So it's crazy how that's working out. Nobody targeted the couple except for Jack, even though it was discussed. So, and that's just why this game is so complex and fascinating to watch. So then we move on. Anything else regarding the vote or anything else that you want to talk about before we move on?
No, you got it. Hit it.
Cool. We're hitting it. So we got the aftermath. This is what I call the aftermath. That's just what I like to refer to it as. Victoria is not happy with nominating Beastma. She feels that it's what she had to do in order to become the Anonymous. Okay. People are figuring out the gameplay that Jack pioneered in episode 1. It's perfect. That's a savvy move on her part. Lily wants Christopher to go home to split up the Vistafer and to pull Victoria in. Since Victoria has her bow, she realizes and recognizes, Lily realizes and recognizes that Victoria will never be close to her if Christopher is still in the game. So she needs to get rid of Christopher in order to pull Victoria in to start accumulating numbers on her part.
Good move. I mean, you see that happen so many times. You get rid of someone's right-hand person, then they come to you because that is the second person that they were probably potentially closest with. And it works for some people. It really, truly does, and it helps them progress and go further into the game. The only thing I find interesting, though, is Victoria, in my opinion, is playing so well, too, that I'm not sure if Lily knows how well Victoria is also playing.
Most likely not. Yeah, no, like I don't think either one of them realize that they're like the power players right now, which is hilarious. They have no insight into each other's games because I don't think that they've really talked turkey about that.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah. So we're also talking with Lily, and she says that Marcel is a lone wolf like her, so she wants to pull Marcel in. So we're starting to see a counteroffensive to the power players in the house go with the early game. I don't want to say weaker players, but the more under the radar players in like Lily, Marcel, and Victoria. We're just starting to see this coalition. And I think that this coalition is going to be the one that kind of pulls into the end game, which is why I'm thinking that we're going to see like a Lily or Victoria win. I see that this offensive is something that like people kind of know the Andy, Nina, Jack power structure, and people knew the Xavier, Christopher, and Victoria power structure. Nobody really is suspecting like Lily and Marcel in particular. So I think that they're going to end up taking over the power for the rest of the game. Honestly.
Yeah, I think there's a good shot for that to happen for sure.
Okay, so then we move on. We go to the face-off. It's the box game.
Yeah, so let's talk about the box game. We don't really need to explain the rules of the box game, just the little bit of the twist of the box game.
Danny didn't even explain the rules of the box game. She's like, we've done it before. You don't need to know how this works. But yes, there is a twist to the box game. The one twist is that since there are 7 people up for elimination, there are 3 boxes that are safe. Now, the other catch is that once the game is over, you're not going to reveal what your box said. So after this happens, the vote's going to occur, and whoever the anonymous picks, whoever they choose to send home, will then reveal their box. So you don't know if that person that you're eliminating is either safe or not until after you've already cast your votes.
I like the twist. My issue with the twist, though, is if we don't lose anybody, I always have problems with the episode not being worth it at all because the gameplay, everything that occurred, was all for nothing.
I would have taken it a step further if I were designing it. And I would have said, if the person you eliminate is safe, they get to choose somebody.
That would be great. It would.
Yeah. Like I would have taken it just one step further, and then you still have an elimination for that week. And you're also thinking about eliminating somebody that if they're like it adds an additional layer of strategy for who you're choosing to eliminate, because you don't want to eliminate somebody who could perceivably boomerang it back onto you. So now what do? Do you eliminate somebody who you're close to because you know they won't eliminate you if they're safe? Do you go for your number one target and hope for the best? Like there's a lot more layers to that decision at that point.
Absolutely. It would have been great if they took it a step further, as you said, but they didn't. Danny disappointed us.
Like I feel like they're so close with some things to getting like really good game design, and then I think that there are sometimes that they fall short. But yeah, no, I think like the game in general, I think is solid. I just don't know if I need to see it like 4 or 5 times in a season. I do like the fact that they're changing it up a little bit and adding different twists onto it. But I'd like to see something a little bit different. But no case of Rostra. So just in summation of how the game goes, Nina picks. She has no emotions. She decided to go for gold. Jack picks. He picks a new box. He says green's my favorite color. Jack says that it's not safe, not at risk. So was this a slip up or was it planned?
And we don't know that yet. So that's why I'm interested to see how that unfolds, because if it was planned, brilliant. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was an interesting thing to see play out on the screen. If I remember correctly, actually, well, let's not get into that spoiler. We'll just keep going. We'll piggyback to this. Just remind me. So Dylan picks a new box. He picks purple. Biswa picks, she takes a new box. See, like that's the one thing that's innately a problem with this game is that there's very little stealing that goes on because stealing is an aggressive act and you don't want people to target you. You like if you were to take somebody's box that said, and we discussed this when they first revealed this challenge. If you take somebody's box that says safe, and then you are now safe, that person has a vendetta against you. And that puts you in a precarious position.
Yeah, and that's why when we've talked to some of them about this game in particular that have come on the podcast, they have explained why they have not stolen because you run into that issue. The only person that we have seen steal in previous episodes was when Dylan did steal Marcel's box, and it happened to be the correct move there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's such a and since there are 3 boxes that say safe, it's like if you have insight on a person, you're like, well, I could take it from them, or I could take my chances, which is still like a 2 in 6 chance. So it's a 1 in 3 chance that I'll get the right box anyway, as opposed to a 1 in 7 chance that I'm going to get the right box if I take his box. So it's like the chances are just better if you just take a
new one,
a new box, unless like you're like the last person to go and you think you get a read that 3 other people definitely have a box. Like it's unfortunate, but anyway. So Dylan picks a new box. He picks purple. Purple. Gotta love him. Biswa picks. He takes a new box. Marcel picks. He takes a new box as well. He does have some insight here where he thinks that Jack, Nina, or Bisma has safe for sure, but he doesn't want anyone to know what's in his box. So I get that. I think that that's a smart play from Marcel.
Yeah, we see Marcel have good game mechanics. It's just not all put together. All the pieces are not. And that's fine because, as we've said before, we think Marcel is going to go far in this game. Or at least I do. You do as well. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I could see Marcel falling in at like a Final 4 spot, especially if he rides the Lily and Victoria power structure. I think that he's got a fast forward button to the end of the game. Anyway, not unless he gets sniped by Beastman at some point, which very well may happen. So Christopher thinks that Marcel is lying about his box being at risk. So Christopher decides to steal Marcel's box. Bold move from Christopher. No complaints about that. We'll have to see how it plays out. Christopher says that his box is safe, and Marcel says that his box is safe. Now, we're going to find out that at least one of them is lying here, but we don't know who yet. But I think it was interesting to finally be able to see some other people have some new gameplay and actually try to play a little further than just saying, I'm at risk, you know? Lily takes the final box. She picks a new box because she doesn't want to ruffle any feathers. Same thing that everybody else is doing. So Dylan asks what the box says. Lily says it's between her and God, which, like, Dylan has a confessional here, and it's very astute. How are you supposed to establish trust with people when you're still keeping secrets? Come on, Lily.
So here's the thing. It's so hard when you go last, though. I get it. But give them something. Don't keep saying I'm a team player and give them nothing. They'll give you a bit of information, whether they're lying or not. Just pick one. You could have said safe. You could have said at risk. It doesn't matter which one you say because they're probably not going to question you further since you're the last one to go because there's no other boxes being selected.
Yeah, to me, that means that you're not safe. Because if you're the last person to pick, you have nothing to risk for people telling you what it is. And if you don't want to tell people that you're at risk because you want to leave that doubt there for whoever becomes the anonymous if it's not you. So by putting it out there and saying it's between me and God, like that means that like you had nothing to lose by telling everybody that you had safe in there. You had nothing to lose if your box did indeed say safe. Since you choose to keep it a secret, to me, that means 100% you are at risk.
The other thing to look at too, by saying safe, then they are probably not going to risk eliminating you and will absolutely put their eyes on somebody else. So I think it's a good strategy, but it didn't play out that way. God did something.
Well, this is why taking it a step further in the thing and making the person who it like to slingshot back. Remember what I was saying before
Yes.
on the other thing. Like then you could make the play that if you got a box and it said that you were safe, you could bluff and say you were at risk to try to draw the vote onto you so you would get the power.
Right. And then that way people will be questioning even more and their wheels are spinning more because they don't know who's telling the truth. They don't know who's lying.
Yeah. And then if you want to even take it a step further, let's say you become the anonymous, you know that you're safe. You vote to set yourself out.
And then you can get rid of.
And then you can get rid of anybody that you want publicly. Like there's some really interesting gameplay that can happen if you take it one step further.
And we'll see. I think we will see it evolve at some point. I really do. That's the problem when you have the first season. You just don't know what to expect and how it's going to look from a viewership perspective.
Yeah. Well, see, I'm available. Peacock, NBC, USA. Hire me as a game designer. I got you. Anyway, so it's actually revealed that there's going to be no time to strategize before test mode, which this threw the players for a loop.
I liked this.
I do too. I do too. It makes people think independently of each other as opposed to groupthink occurring. So I do like this. It doesn't allow people to compare notes, and you're relying only on your own reads as opposed to everyone else. So Andy, Dylan, and Christopher think that Lily is Flamingo. So Lily is doing a great job. And as is Jack, if you really think about it, because he's the one who's been talking as if he was Lily. Beastman, Nina, and Victoria think that Snake is Marcel. Beastman, Victoria, and Lily think that Lipstick is Christopher. They're all right.
Spot on.
Beastman and Victoria have really good reads. The women in general have really good reads on the guys. I think that's kind of where we're going for here. So we get the next scene where it tells us pretty much that the anonymous is either going to be Nina or Lily. And I mean, who do you think?
I think either one. Just based on what we saw this episode, they both had a decent amount of screen time, so it's setting them up for that. We have seen in the past, back-to-back is a little bit easier to do because you already did it once. So I think it could be either.
I'm really on the Lily train right now.
Okay.
I think Lily is going to win the anonymous again. But I mean, time will tell. I think Lily is just doing a better job at keeping her handle a secret than
very good job at keeping the handle a secret.
Yeah. Nobody is onto Robot right now. The only person I could think that might be onto Nina is Jack, just because of the fire thing.
But Jack's never mentioned that though, so
I haven't mentioned it, but he knows
Survivor. Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that there is a potential to figure it out. And the show has just really painted Lily as being the primo anonymous person right now. Anyway, so at risk, we have Dylan, Lily, Christopher, Jack, Beastma, Nina, and Marcel. And one by one, Danny decides to reveal who is going to be safe. And once that person is revealed as safe, they have to open their box and announce whether they are at risk or safe. So we get it in order. We get first Nina. She opens her box. She reveals that she is at risk. Beastma opens her box. She reveals that she is at risk. Dylan opens his box. He reveals that he is at risk. Now, Jack opens his box and it says safe, indicating that he did a genuine slip up when he said that his box said not safe. So Jack had a severe misplay during the face-off. Then finally, Lily goes and she reveals that she is safe. So now it is down to Christopher and Marcel. and one of them is going to be eliminated right now. One of them has a safe box. One of them has an at-risk box. The tension sows. Ooh. So Danny then chooses to reveal right now that we don't have to wait for next week because we have a new cliffhanger. The Anonymous chose to eliminate Marcel. Now, Christopher stole Marcel's box. Now, we are going to find out next week if the box that Christopher stole from Marcel was a good or bad decision.
I love it. It's perfect. It's perfect that it came down to these two in particular, which is why I will bring back, if Lily is the Anonymous, does she really go for Marcel?
No.
See, that's what I mean. So it's, I think Christopher, but see, Christopher makes sense to be up there because we've seen Lily go for Christopher before. So I think the two pairings that are left, the two of those, it's spot on.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's a fair point. Lily wouldn't have gotten rid of Marcel. So maybe it is Nina that is the Anonymous. I don't know. My head is spinning.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, do you think Marcel is safe or do you think he's at risk? Do you think he's going home? I'll put you right on the spot.
I know. I kind of hope it just stays on brand for Christopher of just screwing with stuff.
Yeah.
That's really what I'm hoping for. So yeah, like right now I'm leaning towards more so Nina because we've talked about this. Lily and Marcel are pretty tight. I don't think Lily would want Marcel out of this game. I think there's a need for Nina to potentially get rid of Marcel. So I think it's lining up to be that. Now, whether Marcel is safe or not, I do not know. But I just would love for Christopher to play a role in how this elimination shapes up. It's great for the storyline with how it's gone for Christopher this season.
Oh yeah, no, he's turning into like the Charlie Brown of the season. It's really fun to watch. But yeah, no, personally, I think Marcel is safe. I think that Christopher accidentally just gave Marcel like a new lifeline in the game.
Right. Yeah.
Just screwing with Nina's plans. That's exactly what I'm thinking. But yeah, no, I think it'll be interesting to wait until next week to figure it out, which will be on Peacock on Monday, as opposed to last night on USA Network.
Right on. I know Peacock, they just can't stay consistent with the USA Network reveal. They always make you wait a week longer.
Absolutely. And I am not about to pay $75 for Hulu Plus. I'll tell you that much. Just not happening. Anyway. No, it's interesting gameplay. Even with a slower episode, we still have a lot to talk about. We still have a lot to chew on. I think it's great to get your perspective on things, and I appreciate you.
I always appreciate you too. And it's been lovely doing this so far. We're 7 episodes in. Definitely have a few more to go because there are way too many damn people left in this game. But with that, folks, myself, Lauren, Adrian with me as always. Be sure to check out everything that is going on at the Reality After Show. There's way too much content happening that I can't even list them all off. Just go and look. You'll find something that you are watching, something that you want to listen to, and you will not be disappointed. Please like and subscribe. Follow us.
That's important.
Very important.
Johnny gets mad when we don't get likes. He gets very angry. But please like the video so that way Johnny doesn't yell at us. Appreciate you. Hearts.
Yes. And with that, we'll be back again on Tuesday next week. We normally try and hit the ground running about 8 p.m. Eastern time or 8:30 Eastern time. So just be on the lookout for when I post the stream link up. It'll show the time there. Join us. Give us your comments. Give us your feedback as we are podcasting about it. We would love to click in some more comments and bring those up as we continue to go. And with that, Adrian, you got anything else?
No, I think we're good. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.
All right. Take care, everyone.